Hey Year 12s, today I'm going to show you a way of developing a logical, cohesive essay to support your writing throughout the rest of this year. I'm going to call it the S-3Cs structure. I want to start though by having a quick look at the exam criteria for sections A and B. Feel free to pause and have a full read, but I want to draw your attention to the things I've highlighted in orange and green. In orange, we've got parts of the criteria that focus on the ideas and the issues explored in the texts. We see this reference to complexity. The term is basically referring to the quality and depth of your understanding surrounding an idea, and the extent to which you can explore the complexities of them. Complexity is about analysing multiple parts of a text in relation to each other. I always think of car engines when I think of complexity. They're complex because there are so many moving parts that work together to produce horsepower, to produce energy, to make the car move. You're trying to show how multiple parts of the text relate and combine to create meaning and to convey messages to an audience. In the green, we see these references to structure and the implications of the topic. In the essays, there's a very clear expectation that students write paragraphs that develop a clear line of argument, that what you start with builds carefully and develops. The 2020 Meet the Assessors report reiterated some of this. They highlighted the importance of focusing on the ideas presented in the topic, exploring the complexities and implications of those ideas, and doing so throughout your essay in a structured way. They were telling us that students need to focus more on the topic provided, not to go off track and discuss what they want to. The 2020 examination report addressed this as well. Interestingly, they mentioned Rear Window explicitly, the text we're doing at school at the moment. One of the topics was something like, Lisa is the real hero of Rear Window. Do you agree? Many students simply dismissed Lisa and wrote an entire essay about how Jeff is the real hero. Students are welcome and even encouraged to question the topics presented, and they would have been perfectly fine to discuss Jeff's heroics in relation to Lisa's. But the examiners say the same thing every year. Your essays have to stay on topic. You have to write an essay about what you're provided, not what you want to. In summary, we've got a few things that we want to take away from this. Focus on the ideas and the issues presented in your topic. Every sentence in your essay should add to your analysis of whatever that topic has asked you to discuss. Explore these ideas in depth. Examine the nuances, the complexities, and the implications of them. There's no way that you'll be able to do this in 15 minutes come November if you haven't laid the groundwork in advance. Consistently address the ideas throughout the essay. What you write about in your first paragraph, you should continue to address in the subsequent ones. And lastly, sequence and carefully structure your essay in a logical way. Don't let your examiner get lost. And this means adding an extra layer of thinking to your essays. There's two layers that you're already very much aware of. We call the top layer the macro structure. It's the broad, general essay structure that most of you will be very familiar with. This is your intro, your body paragraphs, and your conclusion. Pretty much every single essay you write will fit this structure. Then we have the bottom layer, which is the micro structure. This is your paragraphs. And again, most of you will be very familiar with this one. Your introduction has a contention and an outline of your ideas or your arguments. Your body paragraphs usually follow something like teal or the what, how, why structure. Your conclusion probably restates your contention and restates your arguments. It should draw some conclusions. It should provide a final moment of insight. But often that's missed in the rush of actually writing. So what's in this middle layer? The middle layer is the mesostructure. This is the one that's all about structuring and organizing and ordering the ideas of your essay. You're probably familiar with a few of these already though. You might choose to start your body paragraphs with your strongest idea, then move on to your second strongest and finish with your weakest. You might have each body paragraph address a different character. Paragraph 1 is about character 1, paragraph 2 is about a second character, and the third paragraph is about a third. You might have paragraphs divided up by themes. Or, if you're getting a little bit more sophisticated, you might have your first paragraph present some kind of point. And then your second paragraph presents some kind of furthermore or in addition. You're adding something, essentially saying, and this. And then that last paragraph is a however point. You throw something in there to kind of complicate things. And of course, there's only 3 body paragraphs, right? You've heard of the legendary 4th paragraph, but you've never actually seen one in real life, let alone how to crack at one. All of these structures work, but we can do more to craft that sense of cohesion and drive in an essay that is going to really appeal to an examiner. This is where the S-3Cs structure comes in. Like every essay, we have a contention and a conclusion, bookending it all. But the body paragraphs themselves have a structure, a specific order in which we can organize our ideas. It's a structure that can help you focus on the ideas presented in the topic, take them in a clear direction, while still giving you freedom to explore other ideas and issues along the way. This structure is your status quo, challenges of, challenges to, and consequences. And now we're going to have a look at what these letters kind of mean and what these labels really are kind of asking you to do in your paragraphs. The S is for status quo, and this is your first body paragraph. Status quo is essentially the current state of affairs presented by your text, the way the world is, the way the setting is presented, the views and values that people and characters accept in the society of your text and in the world of your text. And how do the characters represent them? Do they enforce them? Do they embody them? This would typically be that first body paragraph. Okay, you're kind of setting the scene for your argument and saying this is the setting, this is the way the world of my text operates. In Rear Window, Jeff and Lisa reflect the status quo view of gender. Lisa is beautiful, obsessed with marriage, and serves as an object of Jeff's and the audience's desires. And she makes him dinner, as we see in this scene. In many ways, Jeff, on the other hand, is a typical male of the time. He's controlling and he dominates the narrative of the film, even though he's stuck in his wheelchair for most of it. The next body paragraph is our first C, the challenges of the status quo. And with this, we're looking to analyze how the text explores the difficulties of life within that status quo. What are the burdens and the problems people face because of the world is the way it is? We've got this image here of this guy kind of like, carrying a burden up on his shoulders. This is what this paragraph's about. How does the status quo make life difficult or make life challenging for the characters? One of Lisa's challenges in Rear Window is that Jeff ignores her. He's distracted by what's happening beyond his apartment constantly. Even though she seems to be the perfect girlfriend, she's not his current object of attention. This scene really captures that, where she's kissing Jeff, but he's looking out the window and thinking about Thorwald. His eyes fall on Miss Torso, another woman objectified by the male gaze, and the scene cuts to Lisa, frustrated by his distractedness. As she sits up to chastise him, she turns the light on, drawing attention to herself, seeking again to capture Jeff's attention. And our next paragraph, we look at challenges in a slightly different way. If this one is about what are the burdens that people carry, what are the difficulties that they face, the next paragraph is about how they challenge that status quo. How do they resist or try to change it? Lisa challenges Jeff's view of her by increasingly becoming involved in the murder investigation. She and Stella climb the wall to dig up Thorwald's flowers, then she literally climbs into Thorwald's apartment. In doing so, she shows Jeff that she can be the adventurous type of woman he wants. But where does this lead us? What are the consequences of these challenges? This is our 4th paragraph, and it analyzes what happens as a result of these challenges. We want to examine, has the world changed, or are things staying the same? Rear Window closes with Lisa lounging before the apartment window. Her costuming is far more utilitarian than what she's worn previously, far less glamorous, and she's reading a travel book. It appears that she's changed to meet Jeff's needs. But when she puts the book down and picks up Harper's Bazaar, we see that she has not entirely let go of what defines her. We have a structure then that you can use to guide the development of your ideas throughout your essay. Crucially, it helps you to maintain the focus on your essay's topic and meet the expectations that the examiners are going to have as soon as they start to read. Our first paragraph, or our first body paragraph, I should say, is the status quo. What views and values underpin it? How do characters' experiences of the status quo differ? What perpetuates this status quo? What keeps it going? Our second body paragraph is about the challenges of this status quo. How do characters benefit from it? How do characters suffer because of it? And what are the problems within it? Our third body paragraph is the challenges to this status quo. How do characters resist or try to change it? And it leads us to examine the consequences. How do the characters change as a result of these challenges? And what is the extent or significance of them? Do they have a short-term impact? Do they have a long-term impact? Is there anything that the audiences are going to take away? This leaves us to draw some conclusions. And finally, we put together a nice, solid, clear contention that can really pin this all together. Most importantly, it creates cohesion, it creates consistency. What you talk about in the first paragraph, you'll be talking about all the way through. Let's finish by looking at a model paragraph for the topic Rear Window celebrates Lisa's agency. Discuss. This would be the introduction for the ideas that I've talked about so far while introducing you to this structure. Set against the backdrop of a changing American social landscape, Alfred Hitchcock's 1954 thriller Rear Window positioned contemporary audiences to question the traditional gender norms that characterized their society. Throughout the film, Hitchcock exposes the societal pressure for American women to conform to expectations of the era, but also celebrates the ways in which Lisa Fremont's growing agency challenges these norms, consequently revealing to audiences the possibility of transcending them. In short, sharp terms, we get straight to the core of the topic. The first sentence introduces the text and the status quo. It gives it a real sense of purpose, setting the scene for our argument and the way it's going to develop. The second sentence states the contention in terms of the challenges to and against the status quo and the consequences thereof. It strings the parts of the essay together into a nice, neat package. Notice too how everything ties into Lisa's agency, the idea that this topic demanded us to explore. Hopefully this has been an instructive, eye-opening look at structuring your essays. Over the next few weeks, we'll be doing a lot of work to strengthen your ability to build logical, cohesive, sound arguments in preparation for your SACs and your exams.